Stop me if you're shocked, but the Chiefs went out and did some work on day one of free agency. They have a new left tackle, a running back, and lost a couple of pieces that are going into 2025. What happened today on Locked On Chiefs?
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, friends and neighbors. Thanks for making us your first listen here a little bit earlier this afternoon. Given that it's day one of free agency, we appreciate that. Check out another Locked On show for your next listen. Make sure you like, sub, do all the things, get all the things on all the places for the audio and the video and everything that you got. If you want that much more, you can get it on the text line at 816-357-8781. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, where you can pre-order the Athletic Matrix right now at rogueapc.com. You can also find my work on NFL 33 and rgrfootball.com. This is Chris Clark, the man with the plan when it comes to the cap, because I just like to spend money if it's me. That's just the way that it goes. You can find him at kcchiefscorner.com for all of his work.
Spending money too.
Well, you know, it comes and goes. We're going to run it down for you. Some late breaking, just as we go to hit the live airwaves here. Some late breaking news about a couple of Chiefs players that they did not get back. We'll go over that coming up later in the show, as well as grading out these two major moves. Before that, we will get to Elijah Mitchell, a new option in the backfield that brings something new that I've been wanting for quite a long time. And we start, of course, with the news of the day. The Chiefs have a plan at left tackle. It might have been their third or fourth plan, but they have a plan at left tackle, and it includes Jaylon Moore, a Niners backup that did play for Trent Williams and fairly admirably, including at least one pretty solid game against the Buffalo Bills. Career backup, 12 starts, 5 seasons. Not a lot of experience there in terms of being the starter, but they're bringing him in. He is the upside guy in this group of tackles, and they got him at a contract deal that looked a little bit troublesome first until you saw what happened with the guy who shares his name, Dan Moore, got a contract that made you feel better.
I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to bring it up myself. I'm sitting here looking, and I was curious. I will admit I don't know enough about Jaylon Moore. I'll get more into film and all of that a little bit later, but 5 sacks in 4 years. Something like 420 snaps, pass blocking snaps. He allowed 5 sacks and I think a total of 31 pressures. So that's not horrible numbers. So he's going to step into the starting role in Kansas City. He's going to be their left tackle of the future. The whole reason I even get there is because you look at what the other guy that got a free agent contract named Dan Moore got, and it was 4 years for $82 million. $20.5 million a year for a guy that gave up 12 sacks and 41 pressures in last year alone.
Yeah. In terms of economics, it certainly sounds pretty good. That was 446 pass block snaps. Overall, he played 831, no more than 271, which was last season when Williams was hurt. He's been spot filling. But the fit there in San Francisco has some similarities that I think you can rely on, some things that might make you think that he can lean towards this Chiefs offense a little bit better of a fit. Now, again, this is part of the plan. This is a good signing. You can tell them about the contract details, but a relative bargain compared to the other Moore contract, right? What was it?
Yeah, $4 million or 4 years for $82 million for Dan Moore. This contract was more like, I don't really know. We don't have the details right now, so I'm just going to basically be talking about what it sounds like he signed for, and it's not 2 years, $30 million, $15 million a year. I would imagine that a lot of that is going to be signing bonus, so you're still probably looking at a $10 or $11 million cap hit would be my guess. So we'll see. And I think 21.4, as I saw, fully guaranteed. And again, I still question that fully guaranteed part. Is it fully guaranteed for just injury, or is it fully guaranteed that he's going to get it regardless? To me, this is more of a signing of we're going to have somebody in place so we don't have to go in and be stuck drafting a tackle, left tackle, or drafting a tackle in the first round, and gives us the options to go see what we can find elsewhere. And if he works out, great. If he doesn't, then we have we have at least somebody there that can step in and play better than what we had last year.
And I think that's the key. It is part of the solution, not the entirety of it.
Yep.
So with what we understand is the move to left guard for Kingsley Suamataia, okay, fine. This solidifies you have a guy that you feel you can start, that has experience, that has played well at times in this league already for another high-powered offense. I don't think it's much of a coincidence that they picked up 2 free agents today off of a team they've played in the Super Bowl twice. So that does make some sense to me. But I also feel like this is just the first step, and it does alleviate draft-wise having to trade up in this first round. It allows you to pick a player that maybe you don't have a first-round grade, but you can see upside there. Again, going back to the well as they have with Kingsley and Wanya in the past, a second-round player that you think you can grow into it. You're going to take a lower swing and not have to sell out of moving up into the top 15 to get a player that you really think can fit the bill. There will be 2 new tackles at left this coming season. We don't know who the other one is, but I do think it'll be a tandem, and we'll just have to see how it goes.
I kind of disagree with you, actually. I do think that it makes it to where you don't have to make a move, but I think it doesn't really take the move off the table. Let me put it that way. I think that this gives them the opportunity to say, okay, we have, whoever they think is franchise left tackle. If he falls to a range where they think that they can get, maybe they make the call on draft night as opposed to doing, calls and scenarios, a couple of weeks before, because that kind of tells people they're trying to get up into the first round. So to me, I think that this is a move that solidifies and says, okay, we have a guy that we're okay being our left tackle, but then also, depending on who's still on the board, people could be looking at it and going, okay, well, they've already got a left tackle, so this isn't going to be for a left tackle. Who are they going to go get? And they could be looking at something different and still go get a guy that they think can step in and play left tackle and maybe not start year one, but definitely be the swing guy for year one and then be the starter in year 2. Because at this point, I would say that Jaylon Moore could easily flip to right next year if they wanted him to, if he ends up staying 2 years in Kansas City.
Yeah. I think it gives you an A scenario. B scenario is still definitely on the table, and I do like bringing guys in to compete. The experience factor here is, I think, the biggest difference. I don't think that this discounts DJ Humphries coming back. I don't think that there's not another veteran that in third wave of free agency that you look to bring in. I do think this is a piece of the puzzle, not the whole puzzle. We're going to grade it out for you guys later. But overall, they had to get something done. I think this was, again, plan B or C or something like that. I cringe to think that they were really in Ronnie Stanley that much, but that's what all the reports have been.
Right.
So at least you have a better, in terms of availability player here. You might have gotten the upside here, and you dodged the bullet with Dan Moore. So maybe there's a couple of things going for it.
Yeah, I think this is a better move. I think you're looking at a much better cap number and a much better cost compared to what you get in Ronnie Stanley and the chances that he wouldn't be able to play for the next couple of seasons.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, this is not the only new Chief and not the only new 49er to become a Chief. Elijah Mitchell's going to be in the backfield. What does that mean? What does he bring? Coming up next.
This show is sponsored by Betterhelp. What are some of the green flags in a relationship? We often hear about the red flags that you should avoid, but what if we focused on identifying the positive signs in relationships, those green flags? If you're not sure what they look like, therapy can help you identify them, actively practice them, and even embody the green flag energy yourself. Whether you're dating, married, building a relationship, or just working on yourself, therapy can help you form relationships that love you back. Therapy is you developing your healthy boundaries and improving your communication skills. It empowers you to set clear expectations and express those needs to other people in your relationships. Therapy provides tools for managing conflict and making sure that your communication strengthens and connections are strengthened rather than breaking them down. BetterHelp makes it easier for you to enjoy online therapy. And with over 30,000 licensed therapists to choose from, if you need to switch therapists, you can do that at no extra cost. Discover your relationship green flags with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/lockedon today, and you get 10% off of your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon.
Now, the second move of the day, and you'll be able to see grades and those kind of things over on our respective written content as well. Chris at KC Chiefs Corner and me over at NFL33.com. Those were, I think, again, a theme here. Going to teams that have competed against you in the past, you've seen on the field. Elijah Mitchell has run at you before. He brings a different ball of wax to this backfield, but he also comes with significant injury concerns and a lack of availability at times. And I do think that there is a different scenario in Kansas City because Isaiah Pacheco's not going anywhere this season. He will be there. So it is more of a timeshare, a designated timeshare, than maybe it was in San Francisco with him until Christian McCaffrey got there. So as a role player, as a piece of a backfield, I'm more comfortable with it. How did you react to A, the player, and B, the signing?
I like the player. I think that it could be a great signing. It's the question of, this goes back to, can he stay healthy? You bring up Ronnie Stanley last segment. It's always been, that was a question with him. Can he stay healthy? And that's what it comes down to with any kind of these signings. With Elijah Mitchell specifically, he's been so injury prone over the last 3 years. We don't know the real numbers. We know it's, I think, a 1 year deal for up to $3.5 million. But that's the key, up to. What is the real amount that he got? What is it going to cost Kansas City, and how much is incentives? I mean, he ran for 1,200 yards in 2024 because he actually stayed healthy for the season. He had a good year last year, so it's interesting that they were able to get him for what they got him for. But at the same time, with the injury history in the past, I can understand why he's as cheap as he is. And $3.5 million for a running back that has a 4.3 speed is cheap.
It is, and it gives you a little bit more punch. And people are going to say, well, Isaiah timed out that way as well. And yes, he did time below 4.4, but it's not the same animal. And I've been talking a lot since the Super Bowl, but even a little bit before that, about having somebody that can hit that top gear and be a breakaway. If healthy, Elijah Mitchell has that in his stable of possibilities. Again, it's going to have to be managed. And I would venture a guess, in my opinion, this is very similar to the first signing, that this is going to be part of the solution, not the entirety of the solution, filling up this backfield. Do you disagree?
No, I agree that it's going to be a part of it. I do think that this doesn't take anything off the table for the Chiefs in the draft. So are they going to be looking at adding somebody early in the draft? I don't think they're going to be looking at adding a running back early. I just don't think that after the whole Clyde issue, I don't think that they're going to be adding a running back early on. So to me, I think that they would still be looking in, maybe third and fourth round. Still doesn't really matter at this point. But I do think that this is just a piece. And I think that they also saw last year that having an additional piece, having somebody that can come in and actually do something and carry the load is going to also be important. And I don't think that they feel like Carson Steele is that guy.
No, unfortunately, they don't. And I think he got over his fumbleitis early. And I do think he can still do some things for you, particularly in short yardage. But I don't think it's going to be we want to give him 20% of the carries or anything like that. And I like having a fullback on the roster, and I always will. So that's perfectly fine. He can slide into that role and still produce something, bring some value to this roster. But another addition at the running back position, I think, is in the future. What would I like to see? Well, we're going to talk in a minute about the guys that got away, as well as the grades on these two moves. But it does, I think, fit a specific piece of the puzzle to have that, not only that breakaway speed, but another guy that can catch out of the backfield. I think one of the things that is not just the run game, but using the running back as a weapon in the pass game is also something they needed more speed out there to take advantage of. If you're going to have high defenses playing cover 4 and staying back, the outlet to the running back can get you first downs. You have to be able to stop and start and accelerate from that pass. And I do think he brings that element to the game as well.
No, absolutely. And I think that that's another thing that they really missed when you look back at this past season. And honestly, the past couple of seasons, they haven't really had the screen game. Pacheco has been okay out of the backfield, but he hasn't been great. And if Mitchell can come in and give them that ability to run the screen game again, it opens many things up on the field and gives you the ability to spread things out a little bit more.
Yeah. I still would like to see another guy in this kind of role. There are several day 3 prospects in the draft that could also fill this role. And really, you want to have a backup for a backup is what I think. Another like standard ball carrier that can run between the tackles, et cetera, and two guys that can then go out and do the things out of the flares, out of the backfield, run across the middle, run an arrow routes, doing the things that you need to do to exploit the defenses that you're getting. Again, giving Patrick the tools that he needs.
Yeah, and giving Andy Reid another tool in the toolbox to figure out what he's going to do on the field and how to exploit defenses. I do think we'll talk about the wide receiver situation here in just a minute because it changed a little bit, but I do think that that's also going to play into how this is going to go with the running backs and how often they're going to be using the running backs and what they're going to be doing with Travis Kelce this year. It all plays into a changing evolution on offense for the Chiefs. Yeah, they brought Hollywood Brown back, but they're still going to have to run the ball probably a little bit more because they don't have the Travis Kelce of old. So the offense is going to have to change in some ways.
And even beyond that, teams have told you, we're going to give you light boxes because we don't think you'll exploit
That
them.
too. Absolutely.
So you're going to have to turn that.
And I know you love that just because you love the running game and you love hard-nosed football. And that's why you like Carson Steele so much. So I get that you enjoy that. And I'm sure that I would love seeing Chanel run the ball on the goal line at some point. So hopefully we can see that again this season. But free agency-wise, Mitchell, I think, brings something that they don't have on the roster that they haven't had. And yeah, you're right. His speed is similar to what Pacheco had, but I do think that he can still give them a little bit better vision and helping the running and helping the passing game a little bit more than Pacheco can.
Yeah. And again, if he's part of the backfield and there's another aspect, another guy that can run with that kind of speed, go back, check out the Athletic Matrix. It's available for pre-order now, and you're going to see some speed demons in the running back position that can play a third round back and be a counterpart and an addition just like Mitchell. So what does that mean? How do these guys grade out, and who did the Chiefs miss on? That's coming up next. This is a message from our sponsor, Intuit TurboTax. Taxes are waiting, wondering, and worrying if you were going to get that money back. And then waiting, wondering, and worrying even more. Now, Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert gives you their taxes their undivided attention as they work through your return so you can get real-time updates on their progress and you can focus on your day. An expert will find you every deduction possible from every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy. All you have to do is do that to get the most money back guaranteed. No waiting, wondering, or worries. Now, this is Taxes. Get an expert now at TurboTax.com. Only available for TurboTax Live full service. Real-time updates only in iOS mobile app. See guarantee details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Make sure you like and sub and check out another Locked On show for your next listen as soon as we wrap it up here for you. Thanks for joining us live. We try to do this on important days when there's a lot of news going on. And so we're going to start with your grade for the Jaylon Moore signing itself, filling a part of that LT role. What would you give it today on Fresh Take?
Probably B-. The reality is he's an unproven commodity. I mean, he's got starting experience, but he doesn't have a ton of starting experience. There's a reason he was available, and that's not a shot at him. It's just a matter of he was on a team that already had a left tackle that they're not going to move on from, and $15 million a year is good, but it's not great. So if they're able to get him for that, I think it could be a good signing. We'll have to see how it turns out.
Fair enough. I think we're all a little shell-shocked just by what a good deal is going for right now.
And that's why it's a B-, because to me, look at Dan Moore. I saw the Titans, the Titans host just go off on the Dan Moore signing from their perspective. He doesn't like it, and I get it. Like, that's a lot of money to pay to somebody that is giving up a lot of pressure, and you're moving on from a young guy that was your left tackle last year. So, people were saying Dan Moore was going to get paid. Jaylon Moore got paid a decent amount, but it isn't top tackle money. It's decent tackle money.
Yeah,
I think it's a good risk.
I'll give it a B just because of that. Like, the number isn't the greatest, but when you look relatively to others, it's there. And I do believe he does have upside. So they needed to get something done when their plans didn't go as they had originally planned. And now I like the variability that it gives them, where they can get a tackle where they need to get a tackle and maybe leave room for other positions that are more plentiful and might have a bigger impact in 25 and 26 by doing that. So I'll give it a B. For Elijah Mitchell, what do you think of that one? What's your grade?
Right now, I'm also probably going to give that one a B. And it's mainly because I don't really know the real cost. Like $3.5 million up to $3.5 million is a lot different than giving him a 1.5 year or 1.5 as a signing bonus or 1.5 guaranteed and $2 million in incentives. If they gave him $2 million in incentives, I feel a lot better about the deal, because the reality is there's injury history there, and there's a decent chance that he won't be able to play. And while running back can be of value, I don't know that tying up your salary cap, which you're already struggling on, is going to be a great value unless you're giving him incentives that he can't hit that won't be on the cap this year.
Yeah, and that's what it comes down to. I would give this a C. It's a low risk, high reward option in my mind. He missed all of 2024 with a hamstring. So a soft tissue that keeps you out an entire season is a significant one. Hopefully that's lend him to be back to normal. I do think that it's a relatively low risk. So doing this makes perfect sense, but it doesn't change anything in terms of still looking at day 3 for another running back, one with very similar skills and hopefully better speed, especially given that injuries can degrade your speed a little bit. If it's soft tissue, you can get that back most of the time, but we'll have to see. So that's what we think. Leave your grades here in the chat if you're on YouTube, and if you're on audio, please come over and check out the video side and subscribe over on the YouTube channel. Now, that's not the only thing that happened today. The Chiefs lost a few players, and at this position in particular, one guy that had a pretty good chuckle when he first got lateraled to, and did end up making some plays for this team. Samaje Perine goes back to Cincinnati, and I won't bemoan the loss of the player because I think he played a decent role, but he doesn't have the spark and the speed that I'm looking for in that role. But the thing that bothers me about it, he knows the whole damn offense at this point, and now he's a Bengal.
Yeah, that's a problem. I don't like it. I wish that Perine was a guy that they could have brought back for cheap, but I understand why he went back to Cincinnati. You lose players in free agency. It's the reality of the game. And honestly, they were lucky to get him for what they got him for. That's the reality of the situation. They should have had to pay him a lot more, but because of when he got cut, they were able to get him for as cheap as they did last season. So good for him to get a deal in Cincinnati. I don't like him going back to the Bengals, but it is what it is. And I misspoke earlier talking about Mitchell. It was a couple of years ago that he ran for almost 1,000 yards. So my apologies on that. But you're right. He was out last year. That's why he's so cheap. That's why he was as cheap.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. But he's definitely got that spark. If he can put it back together, I think they'll be in good shape. Additionally, this afternoon, just as we went to go live here, it was announced that the Chiefs have lost 2 other free agents, one in particular that hurts me quite a bit. Turk Wharton is going to be a Panther. He is not returning. He ends up on a 3-year deal for $54 million. Don't know the specifics, but yeah, great for him. No way in the world the Chiefs were going to be able to spend that on him. So good for him for getting the bag, but I would rather see him in a red jersey, to tell you the truth.
No, I would too, but I will say this. That's a big loss for Kansas City, but honestly, I don't know that it's even the biggest move that the Panthers did that's going to affect Kansas City going forward. J.C. Horn's contract for $80 million or for whatever he ended up getting paid is going to affect Kansas City, I think, more than losing Turk Wharton, because that's now Trent McDuffie type money. So
in the cap, yes. On the field, I'm not sure I'm ready for that because you got Trent still. So, but yeah,
I understand.
It is going to be expensive.
But if you wait another year, it's going to be even worse. That's the whole reason I mentioned it.
Agreed. The sooner the better. I would have preferred that they announced they signed Trent to an extension today. But hey, it is what it is. And additionally, the last move prior to us beginning this live stream was that the Chiefs were not able to return Justin Watson. He signs in Houston, and I think, or did he sign? No, I'm sorry. Yeah, it is Houston. I got confused there with the whole Bucs thing. I do think that it's a good thing for him. He can provide something there, and I don't think the Chiefs were terribly interested in bringing him back at this point. I thought it had run its course, so I'm glad to see him land with another team. Don't have the contract details in front of me unless you do.
No, I don't. I was looking for it as well. I can't. It hasn't been announced yet. I can't imagine it's a lot. I don't think he'd be anything more than maybe wide receiver 4 in Houston, probably. Easily. I mean, but they have injuries, so maybe he has a chance to play next year and be higher than that for at least next season. So maybe That's kind of the thought there. It doesn't surprise me that Kansas City didn't bring him back because I think anything that is going to be more than $2 million a year is probably not going to be something Kansas City would want to pay him, even though they did find extreme value in having him be there because he can run every single position and he was always where he was supposed to be, which I know people don't seem to think is a huge deal, but it really is. And that's kept some other wide receivers off the field for the Chiefs.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, there is one other piece of news this afternoon that I think might be directly tied to that. It looks like Cooper Kupp is going to become an actual free agent and be able to hit that market. I don't think he's going to get a ton of interest because of the injury, because of the age, but I would love to see if you're going to put somebody else in the Justin Watson role, see if you can get a low-impact incentive deal done and put him in it. I would pursue it.
Oh, man, that would be a dream scenario. If you could get Cooper Kupp in Kansas City, that would be a coup for Patrick Mahomes. I don't see how that's possibly going to happen unless Kupp wants to play on a highly incentivized deal.
Exactly.
Otherwise, he's going to price himself out of Kansas City. Like somebody's going to offer him. They're going to offer him probably at least 10 or 15 million a year, I would imagine. I can't imagine he's going to get.
See, I don't feel like it's going to be that strong. I think it might be cheaper than that.
Man, there's wide receivers that are getting paid over 20 million a year, and we're talking now about Jamar Chase getting over 30 million or 35 or 40 million a year. So to me, Cooper Kupp at 10 is a bargain. I'm not saying that the Chiefs should pay it, but to be clear, it wouldn't surprise me if he gets that. What did Devontae get? Devontae just signed a deal. $20 million a year?
Something
with the Rams. So, I mean, wide receiver is becoming one of those premium positions. So it would really surprise me if you can get Kupp on something like that. I would do the Hollywood Brown deal in a heartbeat if he's willing to do something like that.
I would as well. That would be a strong one, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay. And that completely changes what you would focus on in the draft, because at that point you think, I would say the 4 receivers that you would have in Brown, Rice, Worthy, and Kupp, and Travis Kelce on top of Noah Gray and your running backs, I think your offense is pretty set. The thing that we didn't really say directly, but we should, is it seems like, at least for the most part, Kansas City's offense is probably intact for 2025. They have 3 starting wide receivers at this point. They have the tight end. They have the running backs. They have the offensive line. They don't really – I'm not going to say they don't have holes. There's always places you can get better, for sure. But I think you have pretty much the offense in 2025, unless you get somebody early in the first or second round that you didn't think was going to be there.
Could be. And there's also gaps to fill the wide receiver. Obviously, the Rashee Rice decision is coming. We'll have to see how they fill that in. So I think that still could be something that happens. And some lower end role players could stand up in free agency here as we roll on. This is just day 1. It is not day 11.
I have to give props.
Way to go. A cup of brown rice sounds worthy. Okay.
Way to be, KY. I'm sorry. I saw that. I had to share. That's what you get when we go live. You get some of those little things. That is funny.
Well done.
So well done. Free agency rolls on. We're going to see what Kansas City does. They still have a couple of guys that are still sitting out there. Treshaun Wharton is going to be a big loss. But I said, we both said a couple of weeks ago there was no way I thought that he was going to be back in Kansas City. I thought he'd have a strong market. I didn't expect it to be $18 million a year strong.
I didn't either.
I expected, 10, 12, 15 maybe, but he's a good player.
He is.
Good for him. Absolutely.
Well, it allows the Chiefs some breathing room with the draft, and that D-line is going to become more important. We're going to break it down with Matt tomorrow, and we'll be back later in the week as we get ready for whatever else happens. And if there is breaking news, look for us first. We'll try to get you something quick and easy when something happens. Thanks for being with us today. We very much appreciate it. Make sure that you like and sub and do all the things to make sure that you're always with us when we break news or there are new things happening, because it's going to be quite a process through the end of May. So thank you for your time this evening. Thanks for being with us. We appreciate you. Have a great night, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.